a lot stronger, and I think he's going to have better endurance. Um, Not being able to boil himself down like that, and even though it is a huge jump, I think we lose sight of the fact of how much he had to boil down and how gaunt he looked at 140.
So obvious, I guess, because Crawford is bigger.
Right.
Crawford is heavy. Like he carries himself. He's very solid right now. He's taller. When you see him the face off, so he is technically bigger.
Hello, I'm looking at this thing and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, so let me look at this from Canelo's perspective and the experience of being in the ring with guys that are long and fast. What comes, what we've seen come from Canelo is the patience. Something that I know from my own personal experience, a guy that shows a lot of patience and you don't bother him by winning rounds. I don't think Canelo's gonna get bothered.
Andre Ward delivers a powerful warning to Canelo Alvarez, pointing to the rising danger of Terence Crawford. Ward notes that while Canelo is still one of the best fighters in the sport, small signs of decline are beginning to show. His punch volume has dipped, and his reflexes don't snap the way they once did. Despite that, Ward makes it clear Canelo's skills, IQ, and veteran craft remain elite. But Crawford, he warns, is a completely different challenge. Comparing Canelo's recent fights to preseason warm-ups, Ward says the real test begins once Crawford's precision and adaptability take over.
In my case, but I'm really not moving up in weight. I'm just not having to boil myself down. So I think that Terrence is going to be a lot stronger, and I think he's going to have better endurance. Uh, Not being able to boil himself down like that, and even though it is a huge jump, I think we lose sight of the fact of how much he had to boil down and how gaunt he looked at 140, and even quickly at 147. It got to the point where you start to cut into muscle mass. If you know anything about weight loss, at a certain point, that affects you in a boxing ring. Boxing, maybe wrestling, and MMA are the only sports where you have to tear yourself down for 2 months or 3 months, not just the training, but the weight loss. And then you have less than or right around 24 hours to put it back on. And then you need to go be great the next night. Everybody else is to play or compete at their walking around weight or their playing weight. So I think that's going to favor Terrence Crawford is not having to boil down 25 or 20. It's probably going to be about 10 to 12.
What do you make of the state of Canelo right now? Because it does seem like he's received a little bit of heat, and I think the last performance it was somewhat warranted because like the output was historically low.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
but to me, I felt like he knew. I mean, Terrence was sitting there in the front row in Riyadh. Like, why would you even put yourself in risk when you've got this gigantic fight waiting for you? Like, just get the win over Skull, move on, get the belts, and you get the big fight. So how much do you chalk it up to like, the motivation just isn't there because the opponents aren't on his level, or maybe he's just getting older and, as you know, Father Time is undefeated.
Great question. I think a couple of things are true. I think number one, I think Father Time is catching up to Canelo, but it's not subtle. A little less punch output than normal. Maybe the reflexes have waned just a little bit, but he's still better than most fighters in the world today.
Brian Mendoza, the American junior middleweight contender, believes Canelo Alvarez holds the upper hand over Terence Crawford, not only because of size but also due to experience and skill. While he respects Crawford's incredible talent and his dominance against top competition, Mendoza highlights the importance of weight classes in boxing. He argues that Canelo's long career at higher divisions gives him a natural advantage at 168 pounds, something Crawford cannot easily duplicate. Though he acknowledges Crawford's greatness, Mendoza ultimately favors Canelo, pointing to the Mexican superstar's ring IQ, championship pedigree, and proven success against bigger, stronger opponents.
We gonna finish this thing strong. Gonna get Brian Mendoza's perspective of what you think about this fight with Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford.
So like I feel like every day I'm almost kind of changing my opinion, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I lean towards Canelo because of the size.
Yeah.
But I know the size thing isn't like so obvious, I guess, because Crawford is bigger.
Right.
Crawford is heavy, like he carries himself, he's very solid right now. He's taller, when you see him the face off. So he is technically bigger. It's just the size is it's very different when you carry that weight in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you got to worry about performing
Mm-hmm.
with. Just based off kind of like the performance at 154, although it was against a very solid fighter with Madrimov. Um, I don't know if he's gonna be solid enough. Just used to carrying that type of weight around at 68. So that's the reason I lean towards Canelo. But the skill wise, everything else is obviously still more on Bud's side.
Yeah.
So that's where my toss up is. I just lean towards Canelo because at the end of the day, you got to respect the weight classes.
We've been real heavy on this fight. We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. I feel like every time I've spoken about Canelo and Crawford, the only thing I'm talking about is Crawford. So I said, you know what? Today I'm gonna flip the script. Today it's all about Canelo for me, and I might break your heart in the process. But I got to keep it real. You're right. This is a 50-50 fight. This is a fight where, as I was telling the Uber driver this morning, these guys, we've seen them both make mistakes in the ring, but they've never cost them, right? This is the first fight that I believe they both are going to get in the ring where the small mistake is actually a big mistake against the opposer.
Jeff Horn, the former WBO welterweight champion who stunned the world by defeating Manny Pacquiao in 2017, issues a strong warning to Canelo Alvarez about the formidable threat of Terence Crawford. Horn recognizes that Canelo's size, power, and experience could give him an early advantage, predicting that Alvarez may start aggressively, trying to impose his strength and put Crawford on the defensive. However, Horn emphasizes that Crawford thrives on adjustments. Once he finds his rhythm, he becomes nearly unstoppable. His timing, precision, and ability to switch styles mid-fight make him one of the sport's deadliest finishers. Horn warns that if Canelo cannot secure an early finish, Crawford's stamina, counterpunching, and calmness under pressure will dominate the later rounds. While Canelo might control the start, Horn sides with Crawford overall, highlighting his skill in breaking down opponents methodically, making him the likely victor if the fight extends to the championship rounds.
I favor Canelo. Not by a lot, but I do favor him. I just think that, I think the Skull fight was just style. And I think Canelo was like, why force the issue? You know what I mean? I'm up. This guy's running. I'm not gonna take a chance. Um, so I think that it was that kind of fight for Canelo. Marjamov did give Crawford problems. You know what I'm saying? And where I felt like, damn, at 54, he gave you problems. 68 is different. You know what I'm saying? Going up three weight classes, if he's 47, 54, 60, 68, that's three weight classes. It's a major difference, man. And one thing is like, right, so people are saying Canelo has problems with movers. But the reality is Crawford's not a mover. Crawford's not a fighter that fights on his feet in the sense of boxing, kind of like say how a Pernell Whitaker would box or how Andy Lara would box. Crawford is a fighter that works on angles. He's not on his feet like Muhammad Ali. You know what I'm saying? He's not that kind of boxer. So he's gonna be there to get hit, and I feel like that favors Canelo because Canelo's gonna hit you in the arms. He's gonna hit you in the elbows. He's gonna hit anything you give him. He's gonna take it. You know what I mean? And now, is Crawford just going to switch his style and become a mover, moving up three weight classes? So now you're going to put all that weight on your legs. He's never boxed like that before. How can you do that?
I lean toward Canelo in this matchup, not by a huge margin, but I do favor him. When you look at his fight with Golovkin, it was more about style and strategy than dominance. Canelo didn't need to force the issue. He saw an opponent who was moving and figured there was no need to take unnecessary risks. It was a calculated approach. Now, comparing that to Crawford, yes, Margarito gave Crawford some problems at 154 pounds, but that's a far cry from the challenge at 168 pounds. Crawford is moving up three weight classes from 147 to 168. That's a massive jump in size and strength. Some people say Canelo struggles against movers, but Crawford isn't exactly that kind of fighter. He isn't constantly circling or boxing on the back foot like Pernell Whitaker or Juan Manuel Marquez. Crawford works through angles, setting up his shots and exploiting openings rather than dancing around. That actually favors Canelo, because Canelo thrives on landing punches on opponents who stay within striking range. He's going to find the arms, the elbows, anything Crawford exposes. Canelo takes full advantage. The bigger question is whether Crawford can suddenly change his style overnight to become a constant mover while adjusting to 3 extra weight classes. That's a tough ask. Adding all that weight while trying to adopt a completely different boxing style is not easy, especially when he's never fought that way before. Canelo's experience, power, and ability to adapt to opponents like Crawford make him a dangerous challenge for anyone moving up in weight. While Crawford has skill, the size difference, combined with Canelo's ability to exploit an opponent who's not a pure mover, gives Canelo a tangible edge in this matchup.
Now, so I avoided that. I would bring in specific sparring partners that knew how to be a sparring partner. Yeah, if I wanted some, I went over to him before the day started. Listen, I want you to do this. All right. I'm paying him. I have the right to do that. I want you to move more today. I want you to, you know what? I want you to press him a little. You know what? There was a fight I was getting a guy ready for, and I was worried about the first couple rounds. So I said, when the bell rings, I want you to rush out of the corner and go right after him. And I was, obviously I had my guy ready because we were getting ready for that kind of fight plan, for the possibility that the opponent would come out that way. So I wouldn't look to get a boots Ennis. I mean, nothing wrong with that's what they want. That's fine. And I get it, the style, the size, the length. I understand. It's not a bad pick from that point of view. But for me, again, I never go down that road because I got my guy getting ready for a fight. I don't want to leave it in the gym. I don't want to get into that kind of war in the gym. No, I want to have control of all aspects of what the hell I'm doing in the gym to get ready for one night. So no, I wouldn't do that. I'd get the right spar partners. If I thought I had a guy, I get guys that my guy could work with, and if he was having an off day, he could kind of, have his way and do what he wanted with the guy. I'd have one of them. I'd probably have 3 guys, sometimes 4, depending on where we were at, with the calendar when the fight was coming up.
Teddy Atlas, one of boxing's most respected analysts, defends Terence Crawford's performance at 154 pounds, highlighting that moving up in weight requires time to adjust to timing, range, and strength. Crawford's victory over Israil Madrimov proved his skill translates across divisions, making him a dangerous, versatile champion. In contrast, Canelo Alvarez, despite his legendary career and multi-division success, shows signs of wear from nearly 70 professional bouts. Analysts and fighters like Fernando Vargas Jr. note Crawford's freshness and adaptability could give him the edge. While Canelo remains elite, Crawford's precision, counterpunching, and hunger make this clash unpredictable. Both fighters bring greatness, but Crawford's versatility and timing may define the outcome. Don't miss the breakdown of this epic showdown. Subscribe now, hit that like button, and share this video to stay updated on all boxing insights and fight predictions.